Shane Coyle of RTHE in association with Macklin's Gym Marbella.
There's a blonde hair on that, Jay.
Listen, we're not going to go into that.
Where's that come from?
I'm going to say it's his.
Yeah, right. That's going to work, isn't
it? From his beard. With me, I've got former British, Commonwealth, European, and interesting enough Irish champion, Jamie Moore.
Certainly. Irish roots, mate. That's where that fighting art comes from.
Can't forget the Irish title. I see a picture of your Twitter of that belt quite recently.
That's right, yeah, I put it on the other day, yeah, because everyone was asking me about it, so I said next time I'm at my mum's, I'll get a picture and put it up.
When you look back at your career now, are you glad you fought and won that Irish title?
Absolutely. I always wanted to, but at one point I thought, I've come too far in my career to probably go backwards. But I got offered the opportunity just before I fought for the European title. And as it happened at the time, I'd just come back from surgery on my shoulder, and I needed a sort of 8 or 10 rounder to get me back into it before I fought for the European. So timing-wise, it worked well, bit of fate.
I mean, as well as being a boxer, you're obviously now making your mark as a trainer in one of probably the most exciting divisions in the UK, if you like.
Yeah, I think lightweight's probably the most exciting division. Certainly domestically. I think super middle probably on the world scene, but lightweight definitely domestically. And making my way as a trainer, getting there slowly. But I've got to mention, someone put a top 20 trainers in the UK thing, and I was number 3, and I just laughed. Well, that's ridiculous. I'm literally a baby at this game, and my achievements don't match that sort of thing. And if anyone would ask me where I ranked, I'd probably say somewhere about 50. I don't see myself as an established trainer yet. I'm doing it as a hobby really, and I feel like I'm helping friends out rather than being an established trainer. That's the way I look at it. Tommy's a mate, Matt Macklin's a mate, Ricky Boyle and Chico. They're the 4 lads I train, and really it's a family affair. That's how I see it. I'm just using sort of my knowledge in boxing and experience to help them try and achieve stuff with their things. So I don't see myself as a trainer as such, and yeah, as I said, I just wanted to sort of get that one out of the way, because I haven't had a chance to reply to it on Twitter or anything. People have mentioned it, and I just thought that's ridiculous.
Modest as always. I think people kind of like that about you. It's something you've always done. You've always played your own abilities down somewhat. Well,
maybe a little bit, but I'm just honest as well. If I felt like I was the 3rd best trainer in the country, I wouldn't say anything. I'd just let them people make their own opinion. But I had to say something because it was a bit silly, really.
Talk turns now to Hull. Obviously, Tommy Coyle taking on Luke Campbell in probably the biggest fight in Hull's history. Would that be a fair statement?
I'd say so. I think the last one with Paul Ingle was boxing for the world title would be the biggest sort of fight what's happened here. I boxed on an undercard actually. I had my 2nd pro fight in the undercard there, so I've still. I was involved in some way in the last big fight in Hull, and obviously I'm a big part of this one, and I'm really looking forward to it. I think the 2 lads, not just Tommy, obviously Luke Campbell has allowed this fight to happen by being so successful as an amateur. I think Tommy's admitted himself that it gave him the springboard to do well as a pro, so he could headline against Derry here, and it took off from there. But from that point on, Tommy's established himself as a fighter. It's not been on the back of Luke Campbell from that point. People were talking about him after the Derry fight, and he's done him. He's mapped his own path. He's gone his own way. But then eventually they're going to come together a little bit earlier than I expected. I thought Luke would want a bit more experience as a pro against a bit tougher opposition. But I feel that's what a winner's the fight. I've said it. I've been on record saying it before. I think Luke Campbell will be a world champion eventually. I just think that this is a little bit early for him. A little bit like David A against Carl Thompson, that sort of thing.
I mean, coming into this, Tommy Coyle said openly he is the underdog coming into this. He's facing one of the gold medalists from that GB squad, that London team. We've had that. He said that fantastic platform, that fantastic exposure. How do you concentrate on the boxing and block all that sort of stuff out, Jamie?
It's about being professional and having a strong mindset, and Tommy's sometimes overlooks things, but once he's in the situation, you can't fault his mental strength, and we saw that against Brizuela. I always felt he had it in him. I said I can tell by your makeup, you're just one of them people who once the going gets tough, you'll go, and he's proved that he can do that. I'm not saying Luke Campbell can't do that, but sometimes you need to be put in that situation first, to then regroup and realise that what it takes to go through something like that, and then you do it. So yeah, I mean, I'm just excited that Tommy's got the chance. He never thought he'd be in this situation. I always felt he could, but fate sometimes puts you in a certain position or deals you a certain undercards, and you're sat there thinking, wow, look at this position. And let's have it right, he wouldn't be here if he couldn't fight and he didn't have talent. Yeah, he's a 10-1 underdog with the bookies. I think that's crazy. But I was a 20-1 underdog when I beat Michael Jones for the British title. So, you know, it's not unheard of. And Tommy's got a better chance than I had that night, and I won the fight easy. So I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I honestly feel watching Tommy spar and go through the camp and dedicate himself to the tactics.
Look at the camp from like a punditry point of view, or do you look at it solely as a trainer point of view? Because your punditry work gives you maybe that experience to look outside the box a little bit. Looking at it now, how do you assess Tommy Coyle's chances of stopping Luke Campbell?
Stopping him, I think he's got a very good chance of stopping him, because Luke Campbell's never been where Tommy's been. So if you're going to say, when's Tommy going to win the fight, people would have to say in the later rounds. They don't want to say, no, I think some people would say his only chance is early to knock him out. I think that's ridiculous. You know, I don't think for 1 minute that Tommy will win early. I think it's going to be a real tough fight, and I think tactically he's got to get his spot on. He's got to show more discipline than he has in the past, but he knows that, and he has been guilty of overlooking opponents trying to get to probably this fight because he knew the fight was coming. So, and that's understandable, but that's something that I can't do in this fight. You know, Sky have just asked me, do you think he'll overlook Luke Campbell because it's a world title in a minute and he could get a shot? You know, I said that's crazy, because how can you overlook somebody like Luke Campbell? So this is his world title shot, really. He feels like it's his world title shot because he's now boxing outdoors in front of probably 20,000 people when he thought he'd never get out of, you know, small hall arenas. So this is a world title in itself for him, and he's thriving on it.
What did you make of Luke Campbell's comments to Coogan yesterday? He feels that Coyle's on a similar level to Brisweiler, who they both beat.
I understand that comment. You know, I'm real, and Tommy had a real tough fight with him, and we've admitted and we've said the referee maybe shouldn't have stopped it in the 12th. He could have stopped it in the 11th after the second knockdown, but he didn't. He let it go on, and he definitely stopped it too early. He should have let the fight go. But the reasons behind him having a hard fight with Brisweiler was, one, style-wise, he's much more suited to Tommy's style than Luke Campbell's, and two, the weight issue was a massive issue with Tommy, and anyone who's been through it will know it weakens your body, and that was the reason why, especially the body shots hurt him so badly. So there's reasons to it, and I understand the reasoning behind it. I've got a better insight into Tommy Coyle's camp and what he's capable of than other people.
How important is the rivalries in boxing? This will probably be Tommy Coyle's and Luke Campbell's biggest payday so far in the paid ranks. The rivalry between them has probably brought this.
Yeah.
How important is it that these rivalries in the sport happen and continue to happen?
It's crucial, you know, to gain public interest and to get people talking. Things like this need to happen for boxing. And you know, at the time, you sort of detest. For instance, I hated Michael Jones. I get on with him really well now. But at the time I hated him, and you have to have a certain dislike for him to make it a grudge. And these two are going at each other, you know, and they're having the little game of tennis, you know, verbal tennis to each other. But it's all part and parcel of building a big fight. And I'm not saying that they're going into character and stuff. They actually feel those feelings because mentally as a fighter, you have to put yourself in a certain mindset to make yourself, push yourself in training and make sure that you do everything possible to win a fight. And Tommy's put himself in that position. He's so mentally strong. I've never known a fighter as mentally strong as him. So yeah, it's going to be exciting, regardless of the outcome, which I think Tommy will win. And you know, I've said it since day one. I always knew it was a very tough fight, but experiencing the camp what Tommy's had, I now feel more confident than ever that he can pull it off.
Right, well listen, whether you're east side, whether you're west side...
sounds gangster that, Jay.
So, I'm just taking it in. I'm just taking it one step at a time. So this is probably the most gangster term that's ever been used in Hull. So east side, west side, whatever, we look forward to a great card Saturday.
Absolutely.
And, thank you very much, Jamie, for your time.
Mate.
Cheers, mate.